Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So, what's on tap for today? We've got another great video clip of Senator Josh Hawley questioning a Biden nominee for a judgeship in the District Court of California. Her name is Kenley Cato, and she has some writings in the past that she basically says illegal aliens, it's okay for them to be there. They have not committed any crime. And if you happen to have fake documentation, fake social security cards, fake papers, whatever, perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with it. These people, you know what? It's just what it is. Anyways, we're going to get to that in the just next few seconds. But before we do so, we just want to let you know that you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. Hit that notification bell. Let us know in the comments below. Do you agree with the judge or you don't? Let's get to that video right now.
Mr. Chairman, congratulations to the nominees on your nominations. Thanks for being here. Ms. Cotto, let me start with you, if I could. Judge Cotto, you were quoted in a 2002 LA Weekly article, and I've got it here, about an effort by federal law enforcement officials right after 9/11 to prosecute individuals who had fraudulently obtained security clearances at airports. The article says that at the time, 563 people had been arrested in this particular government prosecution effort. Many of them were illegal immigrants, and they'd been charged with a number of crimes, including false presentation of a Social Security number, false use of Social Security cards, falsely claiming to be a U.S. citizen. You said in the article, this is why you appeared in it, something that I find peculiar, and I want to give you a chance to explain it. You say these are people who haven't done anything wrong. And then you go on to say that they are people who, in the government's mind, are just throwaways. So we're in the midst of, it's no secret, we're in the midst of a very significant crime wave in this country, assaults, homicides, you name it. Unfortunately, we've seen it in my home state of Missouri. So I'm really concerned about crime. And I'm concerned about what this administration is and is not doing to combat crime. The answer is they're not doing really anything of any import. And obviously, I'm concerned about what you would do on the bench in this regard. So let me just ask you, do you still think that people who have committed crimes, like the 563 folks here, references this article, do you still think that that's doing nothing wrong? Help me understand what you meant by that.
Help me understand, too,
Thank you, Senator Hawley. You're correct. I was involved in that case, I think, over 20 years ago when I was appointed to represent individuals when I was a deputy federal public defender. In that role, my role was to do what I did for all of my clients, which was to put aside any personal opinions I might have about what they were accused of, to zealously advocate on their behalf, and to ensure that their Sixth Amendment rights were fulfilled. And that was what I was doing. In terms of the case itself, I do want to point out that in the Central District of California, the number of cases involved in that operation was somewhere around 100, a little bit over 100, maybe 107. And as a result of the advocacy from the Public Defender's Office, as well as other community organizations, we were able to convince the U.S. Attorney's Office to offer misdemeanor dispositions for the majority of those cases, dismissals in some of the cases. And so while I'm in no way, minimizing the seriousness of it,
No.
I do believe that as a result of zealous advocacy, the U.S. Attorney's Office agreed that the charges that were originally brought as all felonies, that justice required that either be reduced or dismissed in some cases.
Yeah, just because you convinced some idiot, from the Justice Department to be a stupid, idiotic, moronic retard, just because you convinced him, okay, I guess, you know what, you did. But, you still, like you're saying, okay, zealously defended these people. Okay, fine. That's what all the attorneys say, that you want them to say, even if you know they're committed the crime. That's what a lawyer is supposed to do. That's what an advocate for you is supposed to do. I understand that. But you also could have decided to have turned this thing down too. Just because it was appointed to you doesn't mean that you had to do it. and you didn't have to, and when the case came forward in terms of sentencing, like I said, is they did commit the crime. They had illegal papers over here. They're using fake identities. This was right after 9/11. And yet you didn't give a damn because you didn't care about the national security of the United States because you side with these illegal aliens because you feel sorry for them. You basically said the government just thinks there's throwaways. No, they're illegal aliens and they need to be thrown away outside the country.
Concerns me is the comment that these people haven't done anything wrong, where we're talking about 563 individuals who had fraudulently obtained security clearances right after the worst terrorist attack in this nation's history. Let me ask you something else.
Concerns us
18
all.
USC 1325 makes it a crime to enter this country illegally, right? I think that's a matter of fact.
It does.
And
It does.
it's a crime to cross the southern border if you don't go through a port of entry, correct?
Yes, Senator.
And it's a felony if you do it more than once, correct?
If you've been prosecuted previously.
See, as you said, if you've been prosecuted previously, it makes it a felony. The first time you do it, oh, that's okay. We just push you back across. You do it a second time, that's a felony. Even if they do a second felony or third time or fourth or fifth time, you are not going to give a damn because you are a leftist. You are a liberal. You are an activist. You're not doing it from the judicial areas of the bench. You will bring your activism to the bench. That's what we're afraid of. That's what Senator Hawley's afraid of. That's what we're all afraid of. That you activist, woke, social justice warrior justices and judges you know what you do? We want you to stay in your lane as a judge, but you don't want to stay there. You want to be freaking activists as well.
So you said about hundreds of people who had entered the country illegally that they hadn't done anything wrong. Do you have any idea what percentage of your cases, if you're confirmed, would involve offenses like immigration and fraud?
I do not, Senator.
It's 38%. The U.S. Sentencing Commission, and I have the numbers here before me for the Central District, it's 38% of your criminal docket would be offenses like immigration and fraud. And I'm worried, frankly, given your statements and record on this issue, that something that's going to make up a huge portion of your docket is an issue on which you have said that you've expressed concern about whether these things are really crimes, whether they really should be prosecuted, and you just amply described your efforts to make sure that folks were not prosecuted. Is there anything you can say to convince us that you'd be able to do your job here in such a large portion of your docket in the midst of one of the worst crime waves in this country's history?
She won't be able to.
Thank you, Senator Hawley. Again, the statements and the advocacy that I engaged in were when I was serving in my role as a deputy federal public defender.
Have you changed your view since then? Is that what the implication?
My role has changed. For the past 7.5 years, I've served as a sitting United States magistrate judge, and my record demonstrates that I was able to put aside my advocacy role, and now my role is solely one where my duty of loyalty is to the law and the law alone.
So you would say about your previous comments that these people haven't done anything wrong, you disagree with that now. You acknowledge that violating the law, presenting false clearances at airports, fraud, illegal immigration, that those are in fact crimes.
Senator,
Oh my God.
number one, as former counsel to those individuals, it would be inappropriate for me to make the type of statement that you are requesting.
No, I'm requesting that you clarify your view, which you made to a newspaper. You didn't make it in court. You made it to a newspaper. And I'm asking you to clarify whether you think that these people haven't done anything wrong, and in particular, the crimes that they were accused of. Are those things crimes or not? Are they serious or not? And you
Yes or
suggested to me
no.
now, you said several times, well, that was in a past role, which suggests that you think that your views have changed. I'm just trying to understand where you're actually coming down on this.
Senator, as I've stated, those statements were made in the course of my advocacy work. I
It's a
currently
yes or
sit as
no,
a United
honey.
States
Yes
magistrate
or
judge
no.
where I'm no longer an advocate. Those are very different roles, and I understand that. And I've performed my role as a sitting United States magistrate judge for the past 7.5 years.
One last question, Mr. Chairman. In Judge Cato, you were a member of Cato, sorry, you were a member of the California Attorneys for Criminal Justice, which describes itself as an advocate for an end to the death penalty. Do you agree with the Supreme Court's ruling that the death penalty is constitutional and always has been constitutional?
Senator Hawley, I'm aware and I'm bound by the Supreme Court decision wherein the death penalty has not been ruled unconstitutional.
So that's a yes.
I agree with the Supreme Court, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So anyways, it's just, again, it just blows my freaking mind that these leftists, that these liberals, these woke activist judges, many of them came from like public defender's office or from the federal, advocacy, defenders, offices, and they were just seeped and bathed in the leftist rhetoric, the leftist narrative, the liberal perspective that criminals need to be given every opportunity to defend themselves, that criminals need every opportunity within the letter of the law to try to get them out, which I perfectly understand. But these activist judges, what happens is that they usually don't give a damn about the victims, not at all. Because they're always siding with something is happening. Why is, the criminal element? Something must have happened. Maybe his daddy, spoke to him wrong, or his mommy slapped him around a couple of times too much. What's wrong with, why, we need to be a little bit more lenient with the victims. I mean, with the criminals. And nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn about the victims. As she said here, she couldn't answer the question at all. She couldn't answer a yes or no question. Do you agree or don't you agree that what these people did was illegal? And like Josh Hawley said, she didn't make that statement, okay, in a law review and an opinion. She made it to a magazine, giving her point of view, which is perfectly fine. But we want to know, they want to know. And she says, well, that was when I was advocating for the rights of defendants. Now that I'm a judge, I won't do that again. I find that very hard to believe because most activists, most judges now of her ilk that are on the left, that are liberal, that are leftists, will tell you that being an activist on the bench is okay. That manipulating and changing the rules and regulations of the law are okay because they're going to have the final ruling. And they rule it that way. And guess what? If somebody finds it wrong, it'll be appealed and go further up the chain. So they don't care. In the meantime, we suffer as a society because these people let these felons loose that have continued to perpetrate their crimes and continue to make victims of everyday just normal, American citizens just going about their daily life, but being basically sometimes victims of horrific crimes because of judges like this. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been the guest host tonight. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Comment below. Let us know what you think. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.